call this work session to order. And whenever you're ready, Mr. Tullis, we will start with the goals.
Yes, sir. So, Mayor, council members, if you look in your work session packet, you can see we don't have a lot on the agenda. So I've carried over until we have our strategic planning meeting on the 14th. Again, that's the 14th here at the Civic Center. It should start at 9 a.m. and I anticipate probably about a 3 p.m. plus or minus, 30 minutes or so. Sometimes those run a little bit late, depending on how many questions or how good the conversation's going. But so you'll see the Vision 2025 Q4 goals. Some of those, probably about 6 of them, carried over into this year. So at least those goals will be carried over into 2026. What I wanted you to look at, though, is I had worked with the council president and the mayor and took some notes from our last strategic planning meeting. And so I've updated this kind of 10-year vision, 4-year goals, and 1-year goal for in preparation, so you could have something to look at for the 14th to just see. So in other words, if this council didn't add or subtract anything from what was on our plate, 4 years ago, and then the last 3 years that we've done the strategic planning meeting, this would be kind of the roadmap that we're on if we extended that out for the next 10 years. These are the priorities that the prior administration identified. So if you would like to add or subtract to that list, that's kind of a starting point of what I would think that the council might be looking to do on the 14th. Because some of these goals you probably would still reach consensus on. Maybe some of them you still won't. So any questions about that document that you see in there? Okay. I don't know, Barry, we've got some time. Do you want to talk about anything from the wastewater treatment upgrades, the TAP project, or the Parks and Rec maintenance facility?
Let me give you a quick update of some of the projects that we're doing across the city. We have for the parks, in Parks and Recreation, they have a maintenance building that's going in the industrial park across from the incubator. We have gotten that graded to the point of asphalt going down. We've also put in the conduits across so that in the future, if they want to do key access for the gates and that kind of stuff, the conduits are in the ground. We'll be working to get that paved. We've got planned for next week to bring in crush and run in the back there for their parking area is inside the fence. So that project hopefully will be completed here in the next 30 days and get that done for Blake and his crew. There's still the inside to be finished out, and we're working with Glenn and their architect about what that might look like on the inside for that, because that's some life safety issues within putting up walls and air conditioning and bathrooms and such as that. So at least we'll get the shell done, get it secured where they can use the building for a storage facility, which was what was in the original plan back when. So that's ongoing. As far as the wastewater treatment plant projects that we're working on, the contractor is on schedule to have those completed this year. If you remember when we awarded that contract, some of the products that we had to get, some of the screens and stuff that we needed, had a year, 360-day lead time from the time that we ordered it. So we had to award the contract and give them the contract so they could put in the order with the product equipment manufacturer, and then it took them a year. So we're expecting those to come in sometime this summer. And as soon as those are in, those will be installed. They've done everything they can do up to this point to get ready for that. Some of the flumes and stuff for the screens and all have been put in place. They've done some concrete work. They fixed what they can, but they're waiting right now on a timeline for the wastewater treatment plant equipment. But they're telling me by the end of this fiscal year that we should be ready to do that. And we've done our first drawdown from ADEM. And if you remember, we got roughly about $3.5 million worth. It was a grant, ADEM State Revolving Loan Fund grant, but it had 100% debt forgiveness on that product. So we had $1 billion of our first drawdown on that coming back. So we're we're somewhere in that quarter to one-third of the project complete at this point. So I'll be happy to get that project done. Our guys are, as you know, they're up there multiple times a night. They go twice a night probably on average to manually clean the screens up there till we can get those screens replaced at the plant. So, they're doing that with garden rakes and wherever they can to scrape that stuff off. So they'll be happy to have those screens in place later this summer. So I'm trying to think what other projects we had that you might be interested in.
How about the building on Mill Street, the maintenance, the storage building we were talking about?
So the one on Mill
Really
Street,
good.
we have, we did secure, we tried to reach out to get 3 individual quotes. Well, we had a quote that we brought to you for your approval that I knew that we would be on budget in. You approved that. We did go out and try to reach quotes, and we ended up going with the manufacturer actually that gave us the quote on that. And we've got a PO issued, I believe, in that order, waiting on him and waiting on our public works guys to go out there and pour the slab. Now that we're through with the holidays, hopefully we'll have that done next 30, 45 days so that we can get that slab poured and then they can come and erect that kind of a pole barn storage building. Had 2 large roll-up doors and a man door on the side. No power or anything like that to the building. It's just simply a storage area.
Thank you.
But hopefully have that done. I'll give you a better date on that, Scotty, maybe in the next council meeting.
That'd be great.
If that's okay, like what the schedule looks like. But I would hope that we'd have that done in the next 60 days.
The Sheffield Road and 27 light, I think it's probably the most efficient one that in the city. Well, probably due to the radar that's on those, I would think it seems to work much better at keeping traffic flow. What is it? Is there any indication that AlDOT's going to start refitting any of the ones in the city with that?
That's a good question. So, the radar works well from my investigation. The only, I guess the only hiccup with the radar is if you pull up there to the light and it picks up movement and you decide not to go, whether you're looking at your phone or not paying attention or whatever, and you miss that cycle, radar doesn't pick up that you move back up to the light. So there is, regardless of what situation that you have for signal controls, there are weak points with anyone, but that seems to be the going system that we see out there in the area around, and that's what AlDOT has gone with for new signals. So it detects movement. It knows when you pull up there, and it coordinates the timing of that light, and it does it fairly well. We did talk to them about changing the other lights around the circle, and they're looking into that, but we did apply for a Trip 2 grant for next year that we just turned in, I guess it's been 4 to 6 weeks ago. And what we asked for our A-Trip money, which was a $2 million request, was to update the lights through downtown. And that is to update the signals, update the controls, the cabinets to have communications in them so that the lights can be synchronized together. They can talk to each other and know when this one turns, it can change sequencing. So that with that budget, it should be close enough to do at least the 5 to 7 lights through that downtown corridor right through downtown. We did put that in for an A-Trip 2 request. Have not heard back whether we are going to get that money or not. I don't think they've made that decision yet, sir. But we did make that request for the downtown lights. At this point, there is no discussion from AlDOT of changing anything else around the perimeter of the city to the new lights. But I would think if we could get that A-Trip 2 grant in place, that would start the domino effect of getting all the lights to communicate to some kind of level that we could, with communications at the poles, we could put cameras up there, we can see what's going on, we can document, how many wrecks, what's going on. It gives us a whole lot more flexibility with the lights. So
I know the one there, 167 in the circle, gets backed up frequently. And then people pull out into the middle of the road and block the rest of the traffic. And that one is a constant. And I travel it every day, so it's a constant frustration on that particular light. But then again, during the Christmas shopping rush, I saw that exact same thing happen on Rucker Boulevard to the circle. And, I mean, people just piled all through that intersection. Just felt like I was in Haiti or something, the way everybody was driving through that intersection that day.
So, ALDOT went and secured an outside consultant that looked at all the lighting around all the bypass and tried to work them together so that they're synchronized as much as can be done. Sometimes when you're focused right there on one light, you think, this light doesn't make any sense, but there's actually a lot of times a reason why the lights are timed where they are, so that the traffic that's moving around the bypass keeps that traffic moving. A lot of times when you're trying to enter that road from other directions, it holds you there longer than you want to. But there is some rhyme or reason why they do that there. I did notice that I got a lot of calls right before Christmas about the light at Lowe's, especially from the Lowe's side coming to the bypass, from the inside going out. And I don't know what happened there. I think there's something in the ground loop that faulted out. I know they had to go do some work on that cabinet and that light. But I think it's working now. I haven't heard any complaints about that.
They were out doing something on that intersection today, down to one lane. They were scraping and doing some work on the sensors, it looked like.
Those old contact sensors, they work great when you put them down there, but if they ever get cut or pinched or they go do a resurfacing job or something, they get into those wires, then, you're at the mercy of making sure they make contact. So I really like the radar. That seems to be the best technology we have available to us at this point for the lights. I mean, if we could get that in communications between the lights so they could talk, I think that would be a step in the right direction. It's very expensive to do, but we need to start somewhere. So we started with a trip request to ALDOT. It is, just remind everybody, that is ALDOT roads, it's ALDOT intersections, they're ALDOT lights. The city does have a contract with ALDOT to maintain them. So if something were to happen, we go out there and we keep them up, we reset the cabinets. When it comes to timing and how they're set up, that's 100% ALDOT and their consultants and their engineers. So we're at their mercy there. Any other questions I can answer for you?
Thank you much.
Yes, sir.
All right, we will review the agenda. We'll begin with our roll call, opening prayer and pledge of allegiance, approval of the agenda, consideration of the consent agenda. On this consent agenda, we will have accounts payable A for December 2025, the amount of $1,622,074.24. Contract billings in the amount of $153,649.45. Lewis Incorporated, $98,919 for demolition clearance of the 2024 CDBG demo project Phase 1. Southern Earth Sciences, $8,100 for asbestos surveys for the 2024 CDBG demo project Phase 2. Ewing Connor and Associates, $5,000 for contract administrative services of 2024 CDBG demo project. Volkert, $28,373.73 for contract services for Boll Weevil Circle expansion. Barge Design Solutions, $13,256.72, contract services, County Road 606 relocation at the airport.
Can I ask a question there, Greg?
Yes.
Not certain, but have we put out any public information regarding the road relocation there near the airport? I fielded a lot of questions about it, and, people saying, well, they're building subdivisions or, shopping centers or what have you. And I'm like, guys, they're just reconfiguring the road. And then, of course, they asked me why. I said, because it's due to airport expansion, et cetera. But just didn't know if there was any public information we wanted to share.
I'll take a quick minute and tell you that project is County Road 606 is a relocation project of County Road just on that section outside the circle. It's part of the first phase of a runway extension project that's got 3 phases to it, basically. Relocate the road. The second phase will be to extend the end of the runway towards the bypass. That'll be 500 feet, which will get us to 5,600 feet. Then the third phase, which will be last, will be to add 400 feet on the other end. The city secured all the property over the last 5-6 years to do that. It's FAA funded at 97.5% grant. Did talk to the contractor before Christmas. They were doing some clearing, some prep work. They got some storm drain pipe, just stuff that they need to do ahead of time. They're supposed to give me an updated schedule later this month about when they're going to really start construction. I don't see it impeding the general traffic coming through there in the very near future, but when we have a better schedule on what's going on, we'll get that to our information officer and get that out to the public. There will be a time where we have to tie that road back in the curve area and then back out to the bypass. But at this point, we don't have a schedule at this point from the contractor when that will be. But it is not a subdivision, it's just merely a road relocation.
Yeah, that's the information I've shared with them. I just didn't know if there was something preemptive we could put out information-wise that would cut down on speculation and
We haven't put
rumors,
out anything.
innuendo.
We haven't put out anything yet, sir, but I'll be glad to work on getting a message out to the public for that. We put it on the city website.
Maybe something on the website.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Be glad to do that.
Okay, any other questions on the consent agenda? All right, then Mayor Cooper and Blake Moore will present certificates of achievements to April Dean and Blake Falk. Then we'll have the privilege of the floor and staff reports. And then we'll go into old business. We will review and consider bid recommendation. 2024 CDBG demolition project phase 2. Consider recommendation from David Ewing, CDBG Program Administrator, to award the bid for the 2024 CDBG demolition project phase 2 to Lewis Incorporated. The amount of $133,083. No other bids were received. Is this the one we kept having a hard time getting someone to bid on?
No, sir. This is actually the CDBG grant that we received. This is phase 2. We've already done phase 1, and they've got those buildings down. This was for phase 2 of that for that program. He did get one bid on that, and it was a good bid. He recommended we move forward with it. So every time we do this, we bring them back to you for your approval so that we can execute a contract with a contractor. But we're moving forward. We're trying to identify phase 3 currently at this time.
Okay. And then under new business, we will have the fiscal year 2025 transportation plan report from Glenn Morgan. I think this is just standard procedure we do every year, isn't it?
Mayor, Council, yes, this is an annual report, same thing we do every year, and it's required by the Gas Tax Act. The Rebuild Alabama Act was passed by the legislature, so there's a couple of stipulations in it. One is that you have to adopt an annual transportation plan, which is usually done by the end of August for the next fiscal year. That's the council did that. The act also requires, what we're doing tonight is basically reporting what projects those expenditures were done, and if it was in accordance with the plan that was approved by the council. And they require it to be entered in the minutes and available for public inspection. The plan allowed or anticipated $195,000 would be received from the gas tax fund. And it would be utilized basically for the Phase 5 resurfacing project. The actual funding received, according to the city's financial director, was $250,454.75. So that fund, those funds were deposited in a separate fund as required, transferred to the capital account, and expended on the Phase 5 resurfacing project, which is exactly what the plan called for. So that's basically what this report does, and just documents that and fills that, checks that box for the gas tax and the Rebuild Alabama Act.
All right. Any questions?
Not necessarily about the transportation plan in itself, but just, I don't think, well, I can't really remember. Where are we with our resurfacing? Is that progressing?
The next phase, it is, matter of fact, I sat with Jonathan Lucas today, and we went over that and discussed the next phase. That's under review. Jonathan is looking at that, as well as Shannon. So within the next few weeks, hopefully we can have that list scrubbed out and the final scope done. We've talked about a schedule and being able to get that done within this fiscal year. So that's kind of on track for that.
Thank you. And then we'll have a public hearing and consideration for extending the deadline for demolition.
This, sir, was what you were talking about earlier. We did not get original bids so there's two different demolition initiatives that we're undergoing. One is the CDBG program, the other is the city program. This is the city program. We did not receive bids on that. We are receiving bids on the 13th of next week so that we could have that on your next council agenda for your adoption it'll come as a recommendation to award. We do have 5 bidders that received specifications on this, and we expect at least to get one bid on it. And considering that bid comes in reasonable and that we can make a recommendation, you'll see that on the next city council agenda for your adoption. However, what you have tonight is just to extend the time to give us the time to accept the bids, award the bids, and move forward with the demolition, and that gives me, I think, 120 days of this resolution to May 6th to have that complete.
Okay. And the point of the public hearing is, is it just because this was all done under a public hearing previously?
Yes, sir, because it was originally set with a public hearing. Anytime that we do a modification to the timeline, we give the public a chance to come up and say if they have something to say.
Okay.
I don't expect that we'll have anything. I haven't received any comments in the engineering office or to me, but this is something we do every time we extend the deadline.
Okay.
Can I make a comment there regarding extending the deadline? I know that before Christmas, when we had the recycling center here for revocation of the license, he mentioned, several times about the city and the council extending timelines for demolition and whatnot. But this is for administrative hardships for the city's process for getting bids and things of that nature. This is not to extend for homeowners' petitions, correct?
That is correct.
I was just wanting to clarify that based upon his commentary the other week, made it sound like the city was, giving homeowners extended time based on some of the commentary he put out there.
Per Mr. Goldman's program that we're following, we went through a process, and this council ordered demolition of these structures, and there was a timeline associated with the demolition of those structures. So you have ordered demolition, and we're trying to execute the demolition of those structures. So this timeline is truly set on following through on what you told us to do. But there was a timeline to get it done, and then we're just coming back to you saying we could not get it done that timeline. Can we have additional time to get that program completed?
And this is not an extension of time for the homeowner to do any resolution at all. That's over
That's-
with.
Yeah, that's what I wanted the clarification on.
You have
because-
ordered demolition of these buildings,
Yeah.
and this is just to give staff the time to secure the bids and get the buildings down and get them closed out. Now, at the end of this, when we get the buildings down and we get true cost, we will take those costs and give it back to the attorney, and he will come back to this body to assess costs later at a later date. This is merely just to follow through on your orders to demolish the buildings that you told us to do.
Council, I just want to add one thing to that. So these are different processes that we also go. So for business licenses, that's a completely different thing that we were dealing with on the salvage yard versus our nuisance property ordinance. So as Barry said, there's a whole different process that we go through to notify the property owners, whether they're residential or commercial, throughout that process versus a business license. Business license is a privilege in the city of Enterprise. And there are certain expectations that go along with having that business license. So a little bit different in how we handle it, both administratively and procedurally, in how they're viewed under state statute.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
clear across the board to anybody, that we weren't indiscriminately changing our timelines, that this was all in-house procedural for city staff.
All right, and then we will review and consider Resolution 010626A, amend classification plan salary schedule. This creates positions of park maintenance crew leader, pay grade 12, and Parks and Recreation intern, pay grade 4, step 15. Whatever all that means.
Yeah, good evening, council. Try to simplify that a little bit for you. So essentially, as we restructure and we try to find, the most efficient way to do our work in the Parks and Rec department, is we have worker twos. Well, we have worker ones and worker twos, and then we have 2 supervisors over them. And so to create promotional opportunity and with the expansion of the properties that we have, what we've done is taken away 4 worker twos, the positions, not the people, and created 4 crew leaders. And we've kind of, Landon and I have sat down and kind of sectioned out everything that we take care of through the city. So these crew leaders would be able to take a team, whether it be focus on ball fields, and that's all they do, is they work on all our ball fields. Or we have 1 crew leader who works on our horticulture and small parks, and that's what they do, or irrigation repair. And so we're creating promotional opportunities. We're not expanding the number of people. We still have the same number of people that we have, but we're eliminating the 4 worker twos and creating the crew leaders that gives them promotional opportunity as well. On the intern, what we're doing, again, we're not creating more people. We're taking one of our rec leaders and switching that to an intern. So somebody who is currently in marketing business, Parks and Rec, even though that's not really a degree, but there is sports and tourism degree that could come in and help us. And what we're seeing is we have a lot of nighttime activity, and a lot of times the stuff that we need done, we're taking a full-time person and they were already working a full 8 hours, and now we're having to pay overtime for that person to come in. Well, this is a part-time position, and they could do a lot of things that we need. So it's kind of a, we'll scratch their back, they scratch ours, and this helps them as far as their schooling goes as well. So again, it's not creating, more people, it's staying within our budget and what we budgeted, and creating opportunity there to see also if this is going to help us. And if it's, we go 6 months and we decide, hey, this intern, really wasn't what we thought it was going to be or what we needed, we can always revert it back to the rec leader. Any questions?
All right, thank you. And then we authorize mayor to execute documents and agreements upon the terms deems appropriate to complete transition and restructuring of the engineering department. And then authorize Main Street, Alabama memorandum of agreement. And we have any from, okay.
This is an agreement we sign every year. Nothing has really changed. There's only 2 additional items on there which are easily attainable. It's something about the small box shop, which is something that we already do. We charge $50 rent, which is their minimum at this point, and then also maintenance of our signage. So this is really nothing that has changed. We sign this every year. The only difference is typically we would sign in May. They've turned it to a calendar year, so we'll just be signing a little bit early this year. But otherwise, no major changes.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, then the police department has requested permission to seek bids for 8 2026 Dodge Durango Pursuit Package all-wheel drive vehicles.
Yes, sir. 7 of the 8 are budgeted items. The 8th one, I had a wreck where they totaled the vehicle last year. We got a payment of it, but it's still have to purchase another one. And we'll do the bids when we do local if possible. So,
Any questions?
Will the pursuit package allow you to keep up with Councilman Rich when she comes into the parking lot?
Absolutely not.
I have to be there in the car ready for her, and that's very difficult to do, sir.
I do not even know what he's speaking of.
Thank you, sir.
Review and consider street lighting modification, Hickory Oaks subdivision. Request from Assistant City Engineer Jonathan Lucas to install 15 60-watt LED light fixtures and 2 74-watt LED light fixtures throughout Hickory Oaks subdivision. The annual cost of $1,645.56.
Yes, sir. So this is the new subdivision that's right between Doster and behind Piggly Wiggly, and that large area they've been working on. So this is our standard agreement with the new subdivisions when they go in, that we ask them to put lights at the major intersections And they've sent a request into the engineering department. We've reviewed it, and we recommend that we move forward with that. And then moving forward, you know, the developer has to install the lights. They're responsible for the cost of installation. The city picks up the ongoing cost for the street lights in that subdivision on our annual contract, as we do with all other subdivisions in the city.
Any questions? All right, then we will recess the regular session, convene into E911 board meeting. We will review the minutes, approve accounts payable, adjourn, reconvene in regular session, have the mayor's report and council member comments. And then we will adjourn at that time until 9 a.m. Wednesday, January 14th for strategic planning work session. Any questions on the agenda? All right. Does anyone have anything you want to discuss? We have a short work session. I think they'll get much longer after this planning session, though. They always do.
Just welcome back and Happy New Year to everybody.
I have a question. I want to go back to the consent, item in the consent agenda, and I don't know, I get numbers, I'm not good with it, but the 1 million there's nothing extreme in that, is there? Out of the ordinary, just the usual? I know it can teeter sometime there, or maybe less, or.
No, ma'am. I mean, it's all pretty much usual billing, and then the contract billings that are listed there. You know, of note, we did have a meeting, and if things go forward with ALDOT, it looks like at some point ALDOT would like us to transfer that Volker contract and cease payment from the city, and ALDOT would assume it, and then look to fund that project, potentially as early as April of '27 would be the letting date. So, Barry, am I missing anything on that? So that would free up some funds that we had obligated. I think we had about 1.7 million obligated for engineering and design. To date, I think we're at about 475,000 spent, 30% design. And I think at this point, it's ALDOT's intent to take that over, so we would no longer be obligated for the remainder. So.
Thank you.
Anything else? Then we will adjourn this work session until our 6 o'clock regular meeting. All right, I have 6 o'clock. We will call this regular session of the city council meeting to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. Let's all stand for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Mayor Cooper.
May we pray. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we want to thank Thee for this day and thank Thee for the many blessings Thou hast bestowed upon us. As we enter into this meeting, dear Lord, as we are trying to do things that provide for our city and our citizens, strengthen us where we're weak, build us up where we're torn down, and give us that love that goes from heart to heart and breast to breast. These are the blessings we ask in our tongue. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Call for a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
I move to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Meeting is approved. All right, now we will consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review or considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion of the city council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the city council. I call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I'll now recognize Mayor Cooper and Director of Community Services and Recreation Blake Moore, who will present some certificates of achievement.
First, I would like to say good evening to everyone. At this time, I would like to recognize 2 outstanding members of our Enterprise Parks and Recreation Department who were recently honored at the ARPA District 6 Holiday Luncheon. To assist with this presentation tonight, I would like to ask Blake Moore, Director of Community Services and Recreation, to please come forward. I would also like to ask our award recipients, April Dean and Blake Falk, to come to the front and join us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, council and audience that we have with us today. I usually come up here and I'm talking about a ball team that won a championship, but today I'm even more excited because I get to talk about 2 great team members in the Parks and Rec organization, and they brought home some hardware and a championship in their own right. And the first one tonight I want to talk about is Miss April Dean. And Miss April, she is our athletic admin for Parks and Recreation. And actually, April was one of the first hires I got to make in my assistant director role and for athletics. And we were trying to reshape the athletic department, and I knew I needed somebody who could keep all these coaches straight and stay on top of them, make sure they do their backgrounds, make sure they get their concussion certifications done. And so I was looking for somebody more with a military background, really, because I knew they could keep things in order. And April was retired from the military, and one thing I had to get used to when April came on board, April, in the military, you always, male or female, you always open the door for your superior. And Blake over here was raised in, South Alabama, and sometimes I cross the Louisiana line, but I always open the door for females, no matter what the rank is. And so I had to get used to that, and told April that she had to stop opening doors for me, that wasn't allowed anymore. So we finally got past that. But I tell you, April, to see her grow in this past year and over the 6 years she's been with our department has been nothing short of amazing. She comes to work, she has a great attitude, and she is the first one, like I said, when in the athletics department, when you have all those coaches and parents that you're dealing with, a lot of the time she is the first one they have contact with, and she always greets them with a smile and a warm welcome. She always cares about the kids. I believe she even calls them her own. But we're very thankful for what she does. And you think about it, this year in Parks and Rec, we had 680 kids playing basketball, which is the most. So you take that and you put all the parents involved in that and all the coaches in that, that's a lot. And April handles it graciously, and we're part of the Alabama Rec and Park Association, and we haven't always done a real good job of honoring our people, so that's changing now. And I couldn't be more happier that April received the ARPA District 6, and in our district, that's like Troy and Dothan and Ozark and Elba and New Brockton and Eufaula and places like that. But April ranked higher than all of them, and so proud of her. And April was awarded the Admin Staff of the Year for ARPA. So April, we're proud of you, and congratulations on your achievement. The second one we have tonight is Blake Falk, and I cannot say enough good things about the quality and type of person that Blake Falk is. And Blake handles a lot for the city, more than just Parks and Rec. The grounds to the Civic Center, the grounds to the Farmers Market, all our parks, the downtown beautification, City Hall. They're out there putting knockout roses out there today. All in due part to Blake Falk's leadership. And Blake's been with our department for many years, and I will tell you, there's nobody that I could ask for as a right-hand man than Blake Falk. A lot of times he's on top of things before I even realize it or even know about it. He's the first one to work pretty much every day. He's one that, we're early risers, and, he doesn't mind a phone call at 7 a.m. because usually he's already at working on top of it. But I'll tell you this about Blake Falk, and he's not going to like me sharing this, but I think it's important for everyone to know, and this tells you the type of character and person that we have in our organization. When I became director here, I got a lot of congratulations and a lot of phone calls, but there's one phone call that sticks out to me the most, and I won't tell you everything that was on that phone call, but I received a phone call from Blake, and he told me, "Hey, I got your back. I know who you are. Let's get ready to roll." And that meant more to me than anything else, is his support and his trust in the leadership that I was getting ready to provide, but also the leadership that he provides every day to our staff. And so Blake, again, with ARPA District Award, Blake was honored and received the Grounds Crew Award of the Year. And there's nobody else that I could think that deserved that more than you. So Blake, congratulations on your honor. And last thing I'll say, Mayor, and I'll leave it at this, Ms. Sonia, I don't want to start preaching, but I will say this, that not only is Enterprise Parks and Recreation a lot better off with people like April Dean and Blake Falk, but the city of Enterprise as a whole is a lot better off with people like Blake Falk and April Dean working for it. Thank you.
All right, this is the part of the meeting where anyone in attendance tonight who wishes to address the council may do so for 3 minutes. If there is a public hearing on the agenda for the topic you're concerned with, please wait until the public hearing opens to address the council. If they choose, staff, mayor, and council will respond to your comments during the appointed times later in the meeting. Repetitive, disruptive, and disparaging comments will not be tolerated. If you're found out of order, your privileges can and will be revoked. Does anyone wish to address the council at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Is there any staff reports?
Just really quickly for finance is we opened up for business license renewals last week on Friday. That was our first day back, and we have been doing really steady business already. Today's only Tuesday, so which is a good sign. I'm glad to see business owners coming in and taking care of that early. But just a reminder, they do have until February 15th in order to get registered for 2026 and be considered on time. One of the things that I would like to point out, and we had this brought up in a meeting today, and that is about postal service and things getting in on time. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that sometimes there are delays at the post office and things coming into us. You do want to make sure if you are renewing by mail that those are postmarked by February 15th. And if they come into us later, that's fine, but as long as they're postmarked by February 15th, we will consider that to be on time to us. And then really quick, Chief Davis is out, and so he wanted me to just give you all sort of a little reminder. We have received funding from Wiregrass, RCND, and some funding from the Fort Rucker Thrift Store. And those funds are going to go to completing a project outfitting the fire department's ATV with patient transport and firefighting capabilities for difficult to access areas. So those funds are going to go in for a pump, some manual crank hose, water tank, all to help support the firefighting efforts. So again, that's 100% is going to be covered by those two grants that have come in from the Fort Rucker Thrift Store and from the Wiregrass RCND. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? All right, we'll move into old business. Review and consider bid recommendation. Introduce and call for consideration of a recommendation from David Ewing, CDBG Program Administrator, to award the bid for the 2024 CDBG Demolition Project Phase 2 to Lewis Incorporated in the amount of $133,083. No other bids were received. Do I have a motion?
Move to award the bid for the 2024 CDBG Demolition Project Phase 2 to Lewis, Inc. in the amount of $133,083.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to new business. Fiscal year 2025 Transportation Plan Report presented by Glenn Morgan.
As we discussed in work session, basically it's the FY Transportation Plan Report that's required by the Rebuild Alabama Act because of gas tax that the city receives. It has a couple of stipulations. One is that the city has to do an annual transportation plan for each fiscal year. And then the act also requires that a report be done at this council meeting every year, basically of how the funds were expended and if it was in accordance with the transportation plan that was approved. And this report basically says, yes, that was exactly as the transportation plan stipulated. It anticipated $195,000 in funding. Actually, $250,454.75 was received, according to the city's financial director. And according to Leanne, the funds were deposited in a separate fund, transferred to capital account, and spent on the Phase 5 resurfacing project that was completed this past year in accordance with the plan.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the FY 2025 Transportation Plan Report as presented.
Second.
Any questions? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we will call for a public hearing for consideration of Resolution 010626, extending the deadline for the demolition of structures as described in the report of recommendation, the extension for time for demolition for a period of 120 days, making the deadline May 6, 2026. This hearing is now open. Do we have someone from the city that wants to speak about this?
Yes, sir. This public hearing this is one of the previous city initiatives for the demolition and blight program that we have, where this council did authorize the staff to demo a group of properties within the city limits. To do that, in the original order that this council approved, it had a timeline with it. We did seek bids from outside contractors to do this work. And we were not eligible, we're not able to secure bids. We're going out for bids for that next week. We anticipate that we'll have bids there, but this is to give us an extension of that timeline for us to execute the demolition orders that this council did authorize previously. So this gives us another 120 days in the schedule, and it gives us until May the 6th, 2026 to get that complete. And according to our attorney, this is the proper procedure for doing that, for doing extensions on that. It's not to debate whether or not the building should be included or not included. This council's already approved the demolition of these structures. This is just to give us additional time to get them on the ground.
All right. Thank you. Are there any property owners here to speak? Any members of the public that want to speak on this? All right, seeing none, this hearing is now closed, and I will call for consideration of Resolution 010626.
I move to adopt Resolution 010626.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, review and consider Resolution 010626A. Introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 010626A, amending Ordinance 03-1825A, the Employee Classification Plan Salary Schedule. The amendment creates the positions of Park Maintenance Crew Leader, pay grade 12, and Parks and Recreation Intern, pay grade 4, step 15. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt Resolution 010626A.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we will authorize the mayor to execute documents and agreements. Call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute those documents or agreements upon the terms that he deems appropriate to complete the transition and restructuring of the engineering department. Do I have a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor to execute those documents or agreements upon the terms that he deems appropriate to complete the transition and restructuring of the engineering department.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, authorize Main Street Alabama Memorandum of Agreement. Call for a motion to authorize a memorandum of agreement between the City of Enterprise and Main Street Alabama for the city's participation in the Main Street program. The term of the agreement is for 1 calendar year, beginning January 1st, 2026, and ending on December 31st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Move to authorize the memorandum of agreement as submitted.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now we will introduce and call for consideration of a request from Police Chief Michael Moore to seek bids for 8 2026 Dodge Durango Pursuit Package all-wheel drive vehicles. And I will mention that 7 of these are budgeted and 1 is replacement from one that was totaled out. And so, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the request to seek bids as submitted.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, now introduce and call for consideration of a request from Assistant City Engineer Jonathan Lucas to install 15 60-watt LED light fixtures and 2 74-watt LED light fixtures throughout Hickory Oaks subdivision at an annual cost of $1,645.56. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the street lighting request as submitted.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now recess the regular session and convene into the E911 board meeting. All right. Let the record show that all members of the E911 board are present in attendance. And we'll review the minutes, December 2nd, 2025 meeting, and call for a motion to approve the December 2nd, 2025 E911 board meeting minutes as written.
Move to approve the December 2nd, 2025 E911 board minutes as written.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have no old business. Under new business, we have accounts payable A. Call for a motion to approve accounts payable A for December 2025 in the amount of $3,689.66.
Move to approve accounts payable A for December 2025 in the amount of $3,689.66.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now adjourn the E911 board meeting
Thank you.
and reconvene in regular session. Mayor, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. President. As we begin a new year, I want to take a moment to reflect on where we are headed as a city. Next week, we will hold our strategic planning meeting, which is an important opportunity to set priorities and establish new goals for the year ahead. I'm looking forward to working together with this newly seated council as we continue serving the citizens of Enterprise and building on the progress we have already made. I want to highlight an upcoming community event this weekend. This Saturday, the Enterprise Senior Center will host an open house from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I encourage the public to come out, tour this wonderful facility, and learn more about the programs and receive available for residents age 60 and over. It is an important resource for our community, and I appreciate the work being done there. Once again, I would like to congratulate April and Blake from the Enterprise Park and Recreation Department on their awards. We are proud of these employees and grateful for their dedication, and the entire Parks and Rec team show every day in helping to create a better quality of life for our residents. Finally, I want to remind everyone that our Parks and Recreation Department is currently in the running for a national award for its tennis program. This is a significant recognition, and I encourage everyone to take a moment to vote. Details on how to do so are available on the city's Facebook page. As always, I encourage residents to stay informed by following the City of Enterprise on Facebook or by visiting our website at enterprise.gov. It is an honor to serve as your mayor. May God bless Enterprise and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Rich?
I want to say Happy New Year to each of you, and certainly congratulations to you, Ms. Dean, and Mr. Blake on your awards. It's very impressive to be honored at the level that you were recognized, district level. I'm sure the best of the best were there, but we have the best right here. So congratulations to you all, and thank everyone for coming tonight.
I'd also like to recognize Blake and April and just thank you for your leadership and the examples you set for others. I think that's really important in a large-scale organization like we run. Also like to congratulate Barry on restructuring the engineering department. I think that's going to serve us well into the future. I think it's important that we get the right people in the right places, and we do a pretty good job of that, I think. So thank you for your time this evening, and Happy New Year.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you to all our citizens that are watching online. We really appreciate that. April and Blake, awesome. Thank you. Your dedication and motivation to the city. It's great folks like this around the city that just keeps this city is number one in my heart. And other folks that I've heard up in Prattville told me that what's happening down in Enterprise. I'd heard that. But thank you. God bless and Happy New Year to everybody.
Yep, thank you very much for everybody that attended today. Special thank you to April and Blake. I actually got to work with Blake a little bit on a project here in the city, and if you need a disc golf course made, he's your guy. He was on that skid steer, and he cut some of the most beautiful disc golf holes we have on that course, so thank you very much for the work you've done for our city. Also want to thank all of our city staff, and thank you, Blake, for creating opportunities for your department to grow. That's awesome that we can retain talent here by creating opportunities for them to stay here and grow here. So I appreciate your foresight on that. And thank you to Main Street, the work you do. All of the things that we do on Main Street, that's a jewel for our city, and I appreciate the work that Main Street does, and looking forward to another year of your hard work.
All right. Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for coming. I'd also like to congratulate April and Blake. Thanks for all your hard work. And we will reconvene 9 a.m. Wednesday, January 14th in our 2026 Strategic Planning Work Session. And this meeting is now adjourned.
Liam, would you get this to?